I'm Elizabeth Christensen, Cleanfax editor. I'm joined by Julia Jones, co-owner of two PuroClean franchises, along with one-time plumber location all in Florida. She leads a dynamic team providing 24/7 emergency restoration and plumbing services throughout Florida's Gulf Coast. Julia has a very interesting story, which is why I'm excited to have her here with us today. Julia, could you tell us about all of your companies and the latest news and growth you have with these franchises?
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm very happy to be here. And all my companies, well, basically is focused on two, and it's PuroClean, which we do have two locations, and then One Tom Plumber, which is our newcomer. We started in November, that focuses on obviously plumbing, that could also help the restoration side of it. In terms of like the growth, One Tom just started, like I said, in November. It's doing well. I've already added additional truck to our fleet and adding another plumber. So we're meeting the demand. That was a little bit more than I had expected. In terms of PureClean, the first location that we had, it was actually founded in the end of 2020. And it took us a couple of years to get that second location. Being where we're at, we've had the fortunate situation of being where the hurricanes keep coming. So when we first started our first PureClean, we got affected by Ian. And then last year, we actually had three hurricanes. People remember the two big ones, but we had Debbie, Helene, and Milton. So it has been a little bit crazy. So we start slow, and then the weather events of obviously giving us some other opportunity that we weren't necessarily expecting.
Right, for sure. And you have a very interesting background because you haven't always been in restoration. So, how did you get started in restoration? And then, can you explain more about what your role with the businesses look like?
Sure. Well, it is an interesting story. It's probably not typical, especially being a woman. But I mean, my history is I started off, being in the finance realm for, defense contractor, and then I moved into recruiting, and that was my job for like 30 years, IT recruiting, theme park design. And then we relocated from Orlando to our area now, Sarasota, Bradenton, in 2019, and got here. And we all know what happened in 2020, and it kind of caused a seismic shift through pretty much all industries, and tourism being one of them. And I also happen to have a pretty profound hearing loss. I can do this, but it's harder to do. And that's not real helpful when your job has been in recruiting. So I was looking at different things, and I reflected on a friend of mine who had flooding in their house, and how catastrophic it was, for that very good friend of ours, and kind of saw what that went through. And during the 2020, looked at different things and explored different industries. And the more I looked at restoration, the more I was kind of blown away. I could just see there was just a lot of opportunity to it. And during that time in particular, things were tumultuous. We had not only COVID, but we had a lot of like rioting, like weather stuff that's going on. And it just seemed obvious that this is something that if you get into it, it's not as sensitive as a lot of other things you can get into. It's not dependent on disposable income like other locations. It's something that there should always be a demand for. And that I thought was fascinating.
Right. And, that leads into my next question here. What are some of the leading factors that are causing more, people, particularly women, to look at trades like restorations for career and business opportunities?
Well, it's interesting that there aren't really more women into it. When I went into restoration, it was a very simple analogy they gave me. It's a three-legged stool. And one is marketing, one is operations, kind of running the business, and then production, the actual execution of the work. And with my background, I'd owned a business before, recruiting business. And so I felt like I could handle the marketing and the operations. Production was my weak point. But I was very, very fortunate, had the plan from the beginning to bring somebody on that could fill that gap for me And that first year and a half or so, it was just me and Brenden. It was just he and I going out. So I was in the field. I don't want you to be confused by all of this. I mean, I was in the field and learning it, but basically following his lead. And then as we added more people, my time in the field declined a little bit. And then we got the second location. It made it a little bit more difficult. In terms of role that I played today, I was in the field for Debbie, but I haven't really been in since then. But a lot of what I do is kind of steer the ship in terms of what we're doing, what we want to look at strategy wise. I do a lot of the marketing. I do go out and I'm the face of the community that markets PuroClean as well as One Tom. And so that's kind of my role is how do I get the phone to ring? How do I get us to be better known? How do we, you know, work through some of the financial uncertainties that kind of naturally come with this business. And I've really loved it. I mean, the core of restoration is helping someone. And there's just nothing better than coming to that front door of someone and thank God you're here. I mean, there
Right.
aren't many jobs you have like that, and that's one of the things that, the plumbing side also, you come to the door and you're, you know, yay, we can rescue that. So it's a lovely way of really helping somebody on their very worst day.
Oh, that's great. And kind of the flip side to that, you touched on this a little bit, but what challenges are franchise owners facing right now? And how are, PuroClean's franchise owners challenges similar to your other franchise markets that you have, and how are they different?
Well, one thing that's just inherent to restoration is, demand can be inconsistent. Like we go through periods where there's just this crunch of work, and then there's other times that there's, it's a little bit slower. Like right now, we're in a little bit of a lull, so we have to, shift to what we market for and make our services known for something that's not really always a sweet spot, like hoarding and that sort of thing, to kind of fill in the
Mhm.
gaps on those. For us in particular, we're in a state, being Florida, it's extremely challenging, given a lot of carriers have left. It's similar for California. So we're relying a lot more on self-pay. We actually, vast majority of our work has been self-pay, and we're trying to change that so we can get more work, with the programs on that. As a business owner, the interest rates make it tough. We're having to, those are getting higher, so we're having to leverage things or buy new equipment that can be, quite expensive. But what's nice about PureClean or restoration in general is it's very resilient, because there's always going to be something somewhere that needs our help. And with One Tom Plumber being a component of our marketing, and we're shifting to have an opportunity that may come from some of these plumbing leads. So we're pivoting for that to create opportunities in a different way that we hadn't thought of, prior to, that venture.
Right. Florida is definitely a very interesting market to watch and see what's going on down there. It was interesting to see what you guys are going through.
Yeah, you have storm
Well,
work, but then you've got insurance, and trying to navigate those is, it's not for the faint of heart, but it is an industry where we were able to get work, and you just gotta make your name, out there.
Well, to wrap this all up, I know it's kind of hard to predict, but what do you expect for your brands this year? And as we look ahead, what do you expect for franchising and the restoration industry overall?
I think what we're going to have to do, and I think we're making some progress on it, is to try to be fresh. It's hard to be fresh when you're talking about water, fire, mold, and biohazard. Like, yay, this is, but that's kind of required of this environment that we're in, and we need to really think about how can we package this in a way that focuses on what we do and the value that we bring versus just the work that we do. And that's the way to make a transition where it can be, fresh in that regard, because we've got to stay ahead of it. We've got AI that's going to be a key component of what we do. Every work that we do is going to be evaluated by AI, and if we don't embrace that now, we're going to be behind the competitors that do. I mean, they're talking about AI actually being able to do a scan of a room and doing an estimate purely from that scan. So the world is really changing, And PuroClean itself, what's nice about PuroClean is established, respected. It has a lot of integrity. It's a great brand, but it also hasn't been around for so long that they don't have a fresher perspective. So I think they're positioned in a really fabulous way going forward. And for owners that like myself that kind of looked into a diversification where there's some reciprocity, I think that makes, at least so far for me, they seem to make, a lot of sense, especially being in the, Florida being a difficult market.
Well, thank you for all your great insights today. I really appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing in the next time we're out in the industry together again, meeting you in person again. So thank you very much.
Oh, it was a pleasure, and thank you.